Hey, fourth graders, I am here to teach you a little math today. This week in math, we're going to be learning all about patterns, and you guys have been doing patterns for a long time. So this hopefully will be more of a review than new material. Let me go ahead and share my screen so we can take a look at what we're doing today in math. If you have your math packet already for Monday, go ahead and get out your Monday math page. We're actually going to be doing the examples and guided practice at the top of both Monday and Tuesday's lesson today in this video. All right, so when we see patterns of numbers, we know that there's going to be a rule. Either we're going to add, subtract, multiply, or divide each time to get the next number in the pattern. And when we see patterns that have numbers that get bigger, we know we're going to multiply or add. And if we have patterns like this one that's at the top of your Monday paper, that gets smaller, we know we're either going to subtract or divide. So we see this pattern goes 25, 20, 15, and 10. Now I know I can't multiply or divide 25 by anything to get 20, so I know I'm going to subtract. And that's exactly what this pattern is. We're subtracting by 5 each time. So what would the next number in my pattern be? If you said 5, you are correct, because if we subtract 5 from 10, we would get 5. Perfect. All right, so let's take a look at the guided practice. It says, Rudy's rule is add 2. He started with 4 and wrote the numbers below. Which number does not belong to Rudy's pattern? Explain. Okay, so we're going to use that rule, add 2, to see if we can figure out which number doesn't belong. So I'm going to circle add 2 because we're going to be using that the entire time. Okay, so let's use that rule and see if all the numbers are correct. 4 plus 2 is 6. 6 plus 2 is 8. 8 plus 2 is 10. Whoops, that's the number that doesn't belong, because 9 is not adding 2 to 8. All right, so in your work today, you'll see lots of problems like this where it tells you to either add or subtract and then complete the pattern. So I see that we're subtracting 6 each time. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to take my last number in the pattern and I'm going to subtract 6. 14 minus 6 is 8. 1. 18. And I'm going to keep doing that with my numbers, working them out as I go. Very good. Okay, so this sheet should be super easy. It tells you what the rules are, and then it asks you just to complete the patterns. All right, we're going to see, and Mondays are all adding and subtracting, but on Tuesday, you're going to see some problems that require us to multiply and divide. Now remember, we know that we're gonna multiply or add when the numbers get larger, and we're going to divide or subtract when the numbers get smaller. So let's take a look at this first example. It says, we're actually gonna do number 2 first, and then we're gonna go back to number 1. So number 2 says, divide by 4. So let's take a look at this chart or table, sorry, and I see numbers across the top and numbers across the bottom. Now the missing number is way down here at the end, so I'm going to see what I need to do. I know that it says divide by 4, so 8 divided by 4 is 2, 12 divided by 4 is 3, 16 divided by 4 is 4, and 20 divided by 4 is, if you said 5, you are correct. Now we could keep working that pattern until we get to 0, right? Or to 1 actually. All right, so let's go ahead and do this other table now. Go back to number 1. It says the rule for this table is multiply by 4. What number does not belong? Now we did one like this for adding, so now we're going to do it with multiplying. We see a table. On one side it has numbers going up by 1, and on the other side it has their multiples. So let's go ahead and multiply each number by 4. 1 times 4 is 4. 2 times 4 is 8. 3 times 4 is 12. 4 times 4 is 16. Oh, there's my mistake. 4 times 4 is not 15, it's 16. All right, on this page, kids, you are going to see lots of other tables with numbers that you're going to have to fill in, and they give you the rule. So you're either going to multiply or divide and just fill in those numbers. Now let's do a few where we don't have the rule given to us, and we have to figure out what the rule is. This pattern goes 14, 21, 28, 35, and then I need to figure out the next two numbers. So I see my numbers are getting larger, so I'm either going to have to add or multiply. So in my head, I'm thinking, can I multiply 14 by any number to get 21? No, I can't. 14 times 1 is 14. 14 times 2 is 28. So I know I'm going to be adding. What am I going to add? Now, if I don't know this off the top of my head, I can come over here to the side, take 21 and subtract 14, and their difference is the number I'm going to add. So I will borrow 11 minus 4 is 7. 1 minus 1 is 0. So now I know I'm adding 7, and I can check my work to be sure by adding 7 to this next number. 21 plus 7 is 28. So now I know that my rule that I've come up with is correct. So all I need to do is add 7 to 35. So underneath the problem, I'm going to add 7. 5 times 7 is 12. Carry the 1. 3 plus 1 is 4. 42. And I'm going to add one more number. Go ahead and do it, kids, while I do it up here on the screen. Very good. All right, let's do one more. Actually, we're going to do a few more, but this is the next one we're doing. All right, so now I see a pattern, 33, 29, blank, 25, 23, blank. I see that my numbers are getting smaller, so I'm either going to have to divide or subtract. So let's think, can I divide 33 by any number and get 29? No, I can't. The smallest number I could divide 33 by is 1, and I'd get 33. If I divided it by 2, I would get something in the teens. I would get 11 with some remaining. So I know that this is not a division problem, it's a subtraction problem. So let's figure out what we're subtracting by. Oh, Anthony, I made my first mistake today. I see this should be 31, not 33. Sorry about that, kids. All right, so 31 minus what number gives me 29? So I'm going to count back. 31, 30, 29, 2. Now I'm going to double check to make sure that's the rule over here. 25, 24, 23, and that's 2 as well. So I know I'm subtracting 2. So I'm going to subtract 2 by counting backwards from 29. 29, 28, 27. Very good. And one more time with 23, 23, 22, 21. Very good. All right, kids, let's do one that requires us to either multiply or divide. But remember, we don't know until we double check our work. So I see a table with numbers. The top row is going up by 1, 3, 4, 5, 6. The bottom one, though, isn't, and we're missing a few numbers. So I see this bottom row, the numbers are getting larger from 21, 35, 49. So am I going to multiply or divide? Very good. If you said multiply, you are correct. We are going to be multiplying in this one because it's getting larger. And remember, when we have patterns, if it gets larger, we're either adding or multiplying. All right, so let's figure out what times 3 gives us 21. 7. If you said 7, I think you're right, but we're going to double check. 5 times 7, is that 35? Yes, it is. Good job, kids. All right, so now all we have to do is multiply 4 by 7. 4 times 7 is 28. And 6 times 7 is 42. Good job. All right, last one. Okay, so let's take a look. Now this is another table with numbers. It's up and down instead of side to side, but that's okay. Some of your work today will be in both forms, okay? So we see 2 columns of numbers. This column of number looks like it might be going up by ones, 9, 10, 11. We're missing a number in 13. But this one, it's getting larger, but we're missing a number. And when we go from 72 to 9, we're getting smaller, 80 to 10. A missing number to 11, 96 to, it's going to be smaller than 96. So that means we're going to be dividing. Now let's figure out what number we're going to be dividing by. So in my head, I'm thinking 72 divided by what number gives me 9? Very good. If you said 8, I think you're correct, but we're going to double check our work to make sure. 80 divided by 8, does that give us 10? Yes, yes it does. Now if it helps you out, kids, you can use the inverse operation and inverse the other direction. So multiply. 9 times 8 is 72. 10 times 8 is 80. So sometimes thinking of the inverse operation helps us check our work. All right, so let's go ahead. 11 times 8, or what number divided by 8 would give us 11? If you said 88, you are correct. Very good. Now, I'm given this number, but I don't know what this number is. I know I'm dividing by 8 though, so I can come over here and set up a division problem and go ahead and divide. 8 into 9 is 1. 8 times 1 is 8. Subtract 1, bring down 6. 8 into 16 is 2. 2 times 8 is 16. Subtract. Is there anything else to bring down? Nope. That's our number, 12. All right, kids, I hope that helped you out a lot with your number patterns for today and Tuesday. As always, if you ever have any questions, reach out to either Mrs. Fallon or I or Mrs. Donahue, and we would be happy to go over this again on the phone with you. Have a great Monday.